All right. Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of 2 in terms of uncovering the secrets of the most successful business profiles on Google for advanced users. So today we're going to unpack some more tips and tricks for what you can do to really expand your presence online with Google, really expand the amount of information and content, and also build online community within your Google My Business profile. So I look forward to unpacking and presenting this presentation with you today. Know that you will receive a recording of the presentation as well as a PDF of the document. That way you can refer back to it if you need help kind of going back to maybe some of the different talking points and checklist items that we cover today. First off, we'll start off with a little bit of an overview from yesterday, just a quick recap, and then we're going to dive into the meat of today's presentation. So just like yesterday, we are going to allow time for questions and answers at the end of the call. And so if you have questions, feel free to write them into the question or the chat box. Actually, let's make sure that they're in the chat box. We're going to have Casey on our team at Miles Partnership. She is going to be monitoring those questions. Some of them she will be responding to, and others she'll be directing for me to highlight at the end of the call. So we're going to cover questions and answers at the end. So if you have them, though, feel free to ask them as I'm presenting, or you can also wait till the end. Remember that this is a recorded webinar, so you'll have access to it, as well as you'll have access to the presentation in a PDF format as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a handful of attendees still logging on here, and that's totally fine. So no worries there, but we're going to go ahead and get into today's presentation, uncovering the secrets of the most successful business profiles on Google. Part 2 of today's call. We do have some information after the call regarding the live Q&A sessions for each of your destinations, as well as the office hours. That is going to be time for you to meet with myself or another member on our Google team here at Miles Partnership to walk through specific issues and problems that you might be experiencing within your Google business profile. All right. So if you missed yesterday, I'm going to do a quick little recap here. My name is Josh Ray. I am the Google Program Specialist at Miles Partnership. My role kind of fits into 2 main buckets. One of them is education and training, so doing exactly what we're doing today and walking through all of the different opportunities to really expand your exposure online using Google's products. And the other is creating content for Google Maps, for Google Street View, and really focusing in on building high quality storytelling content that works well and performs well within different Google products there. As far as Miles Partnership goes, if you're not too familiar with what we do, we are a strategic marketing company focused exclusively on travel and tourism. So we're working with the Colorado Tourism Office on this program. Big thanks to them for putting this webinar series on for each of your markets. Big thanks to the team over there. And yeah, I look forward to unpacking the rest of what we're going to cover today. I did mention yesterday, part of the solutions we provide is support for a program called the Google DMO Partnership Program. That program is essentially Google working smarter, not harder, and working towards basically building more of a partnership between DMOs and Google. So rather than Google trying to accomplish many different tasks on their own, they realize it's easier to work with the experts in each market or in each destination. And what we come into play, or where we come into play on the Miles team, is we package together services to really get the most out of the DMO partnership program. We worked with more than 170 destinations, and we've also audited over 62,000 business profiles across the country, some down in New Zealand. We've got Puerto Rico and Bermuda as well. So we've got a lot of experience in auditing business profiles and getting an idea of who the top performers are and what the consistencies are among those top performers. And that's what we're going to unpack today, what you can do to apply to your business in order to become a top performing business profile. So here's our agenda today. We're going to start off with a quick recap from yesterday's call, just a quick checklist and a couple other items. And then we're going to dive right into it, covering reviews, messaging, questions and answers, images, so visual optimizations there, posts, and then wrapping it all up with getting your insights data all into place and getting an idea of how everything's performing from here on out. All right, so I just want to make sure that we are all good to go here and everyone can hear me. Sweet. So as far as business profiles, the business profile is essentially everything that Google knows about a business all placed into one card. It kind of functions almost as like a mini website would. But again, it's everything that Google knows about your business placed into one location. And there's two main tools, Google tools, that you'll use to bring up your business profile. One of them being Google Search, so you can just type in a search of your business profile. And the second one being Google Maps. So you can go into Google Maps and type in the name of your business in there. And it's likely that your business profile is the single largest source of organic exposure for your business online. We talked about all of the different products that are pulling information from the business profile into them. We talked about that during the call yesterday. So if you missed that call, be sure that you check out the recording. That's going to be unpacking a bit more of the basic elements of the business profile, getting an understanding of it, and then ultimately where to start and begin in optimizing that channel. We do have a checklist here in terms of what we discussed yesterday, and so just a quick reminder of what we kind of covered, and you can use this to kind of just have a checklist to work through. But have you claimed your business? Have you downloaded the Google My Business app? Have you added your name, address, phone number, website, hours, and description to your business profile? And then as far as expanding the information, have you included service areas if that's applicable to your business, categories and attributes? Remember that you can include up to 10 categories to your business profile. So you'll have one primary, and then go ahead and add as many that are applicable or maybe authentic to your business, add those into your business profile. As well as attributes, we saw some examples yesterday where Google's released some COVID-19 specific attributes, things like dine-in, takeout, other options that you can include when it comes to attributes specific to COVID-19 recovery. So make sure that you go through and add those into your profile. Along the same lines, menus, services, and products, if those are available to your business, again, depending on how you're set up as a category, be sure to add those in there to really expand the amount of information found within your profile, okay? So when it comes to the overall 3 factors, yesterday we talked about the local pack. The local pack is the top 3 search results for a keyword plus a location. So in this case, what we're seeing here in this example is a keyword for a restaurant in the Durango area. And so therefore, these are the top 3 recommendations. And we talked about distance and relevance during our call yesterday. Well, today we're going to discuss prominence. What are people saying and how can you engage with what they're saying on your profile? Quick reminder here as to why it's important, again, to really just be honing in on your business profile and take time to manage it effectively, is that better business profiles drive more exposure and more engagement. The goal here is we want to help you maximize your exposures and engagement for your business profile because it benefits everyone, your business, your visitors, and your destination. And another thing I want to bring up right now is that your business profile is an organic listing. You don't have to pay for it, doesn't require money. It's a free listing that you're able to edit and optimize, and it really is worth your time taking the extra step in having an up-to-date and complete business profile. So now we're going to unpack ratings, reviews, and replies. So customer reviews are posted by users directly to your business profile. They appear wherever your profile appears and are the source of that star rating that you'll see within your business profile. We have some information here from a study put on by Bright Local talking about consumer reviews and some interesting numbers here. 86% of consumers read reviews for local businesses. So I think that we probably all agree that that's what we do. We are interested in knowing what people are saying about the business. So we're going to go through and read positive reviews and negative reviews and draw a line somewhere in the middle and make our assumption of that business based off of what people are saying. 57% of consumers will only use a business if it has 4 or more stars. I know personally that's a big one for me. I typically have a hard time getting excited to visit a business that has 1 to 2 stars. 3 stars maybe depending on the type of category that business falls under. But typically 4 or more stars is where I'm looking to take my money to. And 89% of consumers read businesses' responses to reviews. And I don't think this is one that most of us probably would have thought about or really thought to be the case. Is that I know you've probably experienced reviews coming in and questioned whether or not you want to spend the time or take the time to respond back to every review. Some reviews might warrant a response, others might just be, if only you could like a review, that'd be great. But you can, it is important to respond to reviews because people are interested in seeing what you have to say. When it comes to a positive review as well as a negative review, it's a great way for you to build loyalty and also show maybe a future guest that no matter their experience, if they write, they can expect a response from you. So this comes into play with that prominence factor that we didn't dive into yesterday. Prominence, again, is that idea of what your business is known for. And so we showed one of the ranking factors yesterday. So the first ranking factor for ending up in that local pack being Google My Business signals. It's this black line here. But the third ranking factor is going to be review signals. So it obviously plays a major role in how and where your business profile shows up inside of Google. Some interesting information here from our audit process is that 81% of reviews are 4.0 or higher, which means the majority of the reviews that are getting posted are 4.0 stars. Less than 4% are 1 star. So the 1-star reviews that are happening don't happen that often, thankfully, but it is worth paying attention to kind of how your overall rating is changing and kind of the ebb and flow of that. Obviously, you want it to continue to go up. The median rating across those 58,000 business profiles that we audited was 4.4, which means the competition is really, really tough between that 4.4 and 4.5 and 4.5 stars, essentially meaning that it's going to create really strong competition between your competitors if they're kind of ranking in that same way. So we've got a tip and trick here for calculating your rating vector and getting an idea of whether or not your vector is going up or your vector is going down. And so what we recommend doing is calculating your average score for the last 15 reviews posted, so the most recent reviews posted of your profile, and then comparing it to your current rating. And that should give you an idea of whether or not your rating is going to stay pretty much the same, it's maybe going to go up, or it's going down. If it's going down, that's a good indicator to watch and maybe start really encouraging positive reviews because you don't want your vector to drop. You don't want that score to drastically drop because that can affect how your business profile shows within Google. In terms of responding to reviews, the first tip here that we have for you is just know when reviews are posted. So if you go into your dashboard, click on settings, and then within settings, there's going to be a bunch of different notification options. One of them being know when customer reviews are posted. And that way you can respond to them in a timely manner. You'll get an update of when a review is posted and you can respond to it directly following it being posted. As far as some best practices for responding to reviews is to ignore minor complaints. So if it's just a minor complaint, you can go ahead and ignore it, depending on maybe the context of the complaint, of course. Address issues constructively. Don't use responses to advertise. Don't offer users anything. Be professional and polite. And I like to add in like a 6th tip here of add a personal touch. I think being professional and polite is key, but if you can include a personal touch in your response, that makes the response feel a bit more human. It feels a bit more like a real human interaction. So anywhere that you can include your name, maybe your role at the company or the business, and then anything within their review that you can agree with or kind of expand or expound on would be helpful as well. In terms of responding to negative reviews, keep those responses short. And in the best case scenario, encourage them to contact you offline. If they contact you offline, you're able to then have a conversation or maybe an email with that person about their issues. So if they had, a terrible experience at your business and they light you up on your Google My Business profile, that's an opportunity for you to reach out to them, show that you are responding to future people that are going to read the reviews, because people are going to be interested to see how you handle negative reviews to their business. So show that you're proactively managing those, that you reached out and said, hey, I'm sorry to hear that you had a terrible experience at our business and that the burger was undercooked. We want to make it okay with you. Please, we want to make right with you. Please contact us at your earliest convenience, include a phone number or whatever, and then your name. And then if they contact you, then you're able to handle that conversation offline. What you don't want happening is to get into a back and forth within your review section inside of your Google My Business profile. Because what we saw earlier based off of that Bright Local study is that people are going to read your responses. And if it gets into a battle back and forth and you just, no matter what, can't make this person happy, that's not something that you want other people to engage with. Okay. Once you've responded to reviews or handled reviews and resolved them, maybe there's a review that's not applicable to your business. Maybe it's a review for a different business. There's a bunch of different ways that you can flag reviews. And so, or a bunch of different reasons as to why you can flag a review. So in your review section inside of your dashboard, click on the 3 dots and then click flag as inappropriate. When you click on that option, it's going to open up a bunch of different options to flag the review. These are some of those options included here. The most common tend to be impersonation, and that's my sister had a terrible experience. And the thing is, Google doesn't care about your sister's experience, they care about your experience. So that would be an impersonation factor. And then another one is conflict of interest. Pay attention to those. Maybe we definitely recommend against reviewing your own business. Don't do that. Current or former employment experience. So if you have a disgruntled employee that maybe you had to let go and they came out and blasted you on Google, you can flag that review for that reason. And then competitors trying to manipulate your ratings. Hopefully that's not happening in your community. It does happen, which is why it's an option on Google. So go ahead and check out your reviews and see if there's anything in there that might be worth flagging for removal. And then what will happen is Google will remove that, it will not show up, and it can also have a positive effect on your rating vector. I mean, you might see an uptick depending on if you're able to get a bunch of low ratings removed from your profile. Once you've clicked on report the review though, you might get a response that looks something similar to this. And it's basically Google letting you know, hey, we're really busy. We're gonna do our best to respond and figure out what's going on and process your flag requests. They ask you not to flag it twice. So then it kind of becomes a waiting game and you have to kind of keep checking in to see if that review has been removed or maybe Google has ranked it lower or maybe they haven't done anything about it. In that case, if a couple weeks goes by and nothing has happened, and let's say it's a review of a different business, but it's affecting your vector, that would be an option to use this link that we've supplied here. It's the bit.ly / capital G, capital M, capital B, capital G, lowercase o. Use that link and that will take you to the specialist chat box with Google My Business. So then you'll be able to reach out to Google My Business and let them know that you're experiencing an issue in regards to reviews. All right. As far as encouraging positive reviews, there's a bunch of different ways to do so. Don't feel bad about asking people to leave you reviews. In fact, it turns out to be a pretty common thing that people aren't bothered by being asked about leaving a review, especially if they had a great experience. So if you overhear somebody inside of your business saying, wow, this place is incredible, or wow, this is the best meal that I've ever had, there's nothing wrong with asking them in person to leave a review on your Google business profile. In fact, that's the most common way that businesses ask people is in person during the sale. The other is through an email, over the phone. If you email receipts or have an option to customize your receipts, you can include information about leaving a review on that and just reminding people in those kind of subtle ways. Maybe even if you text receipts, you can remind people via SMS. Another tip for encouraging positive reviews is to set up your short name. And this has to be based off of your display name or existing branding or maybe current custom URLs or the name of your linked website. It cannot be a totally random name here for your short name. So it does need to be associated to your business. But we have that example of what that looks like here for this business in Puerto Rico. So then what you can do with your short name is direct people either to your business profile quickly and easily. So to be g.page / your short name. So that can be included on a receipt. It's also pretty short to remember, especially if you make a easy to remember short name. So if you tell people in person, they can also go to your review page by typing in g.page, your short name, and then /review. And that will take them directly to the review page. And that's just an easy way for you to drive traffic to reviewing your business profile. So it could be something you use on your social media channels, on your website, and any other interactions that you might have with people online. Always include that link. Some additional resources can be found within the marketing kit with google.com. Resources like free stickers, posters, social posts, and more. All things that are helpful for your business. So if you want one of those fancy review us on Google stickers on your door, you can order that via the marketing kit with google.com. Again, you'll have access to this presentation, so you can just click on the link inside of the PDF. As far as communicating directly with customers, there's a messaging tool built into the Google My Business app. So we have the note here, it is mobile only. You cannot message people or users inside of Google Maps on your web browser. It needs to be done inside of the Google My Business app. But it's a great way to get conversations going. People can reach out about certain specific questions that maybe they couldn't find within your profile or your website. But you do have to turn this feature on. So what you'll do is inside of the app, there's going to be that little customers tab, shows down here, and select turn on messaging. When you turn on messaging, you can set up your welcome message. Hey, thanks for following us. How can we help you out? And then your name or whoever's handling messaging moving forward. Again, you do have to set it up in order to receive them. It's not an automatically opted in program for Google My Business, so you do have to opt into it manually. And what that'll do is it'll open up this message tab inside of your business profile. And so as a user, I now have the directions, the call, so I can call you, I can save your listing, and then I'll see this option and I can message you with my direct questions. So just another way for people to communicate with you. I've never heard a case where a owner or manager has utilized messaging and once they turn it on, it became too much of a burden. So I would recommend for each of you to just turn it on. That way it's available. What that does is it shows Google that you are actively using all of the features, which will help your case. It'll help your business profile. And also, if there is somebody out there that is interested in messaging you, at least you have it set up and ready to go. Once it's turned on and let's say I'm a user looking at this business and I message them, I can click message down here or message up here, and then it'll open up the chat box. So hi, do you still offer off-road tours? And then it's an opportunity to engage. As far as best practices go, you want to make sure that you have someone who's prepared to answer the questions quickly. Nothing worse than sending a DM or a message through another product or app out there and not getting a response or getting a delayed response. And so messaging is meant to be responded to fairly quickly. So you want to make sure that you're responding at least within a business day to messages as they're coming through. Because it's now part of the app, you can have multiple users. So if you do want to allow multiple users across your company or business to respond to this, you can. Just make sure there's kind of a point person directing everything. That way there's no questions or messages getting left behind. And then another note here is that conversations within messaging, they are not public, they are private. But if someone's going to go in and blast you about your business and then you get into a back and forth and you rebuttal with them and it turns out to be a nasty conversation inside of Google My Business, and hopefully that's not ever the case for you. But just a good reminder to never get into a battle when representing your business, because even though it's private, people can still screen capture or screenshot the message thread and then blow you up in your reviews or in another way. Okay, now talking about questions and answers. This was a feature that was kind of shut down during COVID-19 for a number of different reasons, but it is back up and live again. So we do think it is worth unpacking for you to go through and make sure that there aren't any questions and answers inside of your business profile that maybe shouldn't be there. So we're going to talk about how to engage with it. And the interesting factor for questions and answers is that they cannot be engaged with inside of your Google My Business dashboard. So you can respond to reviews inside of your dashboard. You can respond to messaging within the Google My Business app. But when it comes to questions and answers, the only way that you can respond to them is by going to the business profile inside of Google search, scrolling down, and there will be a questions and answers tab. Usually there's a handful of questions if it's a busier point of interest, especially important to travel and tourism. Typically there will be a lot of questions and answers, but we're going to look at some examples of how they come into play inside of your business profile. But first, we want to get an understanding of who's engaging with those questions and answers, as well as who is making contributions to your pages. So in case you see edits come through or photos from customers, those are all coming in from local guides. So we have some numbers here as to how big the local guide program is. There's more than 50 million of them. They add 700,000 places every month, and their median response time is 20 minutes, which means they're constantly engaging with making contributions where there might be information missing, or Google's looking to make optimizations to a profile. They're going to use the local guide program for that. So that kind of what we see here are some examples of exactly that. Google asking if you know this place, help others decide. And so that would be kind of like an opportunity to do a fact check for some of the information for the public house. Based on the visit, so Google saw that we visited this grocery store 5 days ago. Therefore, they're now asking us, what photo do you think is more helpful for the next person to look at the business profile? So this is an opportunity for a local guide to engage with that and make that contribution. Okay. As far as going back into the questions and answers, likely those questions and answers are getting answered by local guides, and sometimes they're helpful, other times they're not, but they're definitely answering more quickly than the owners. And I think the big reason for that is because local guides, our owners aren't aware of questions and answers, didn't know that they actually are a thing. Okay, so check out this example here of I'd say the most helpful response I've probably seen within the questions and answers section. The question that was asked is, when does the fall motorcycle meet? And then you get a really helpful response here by this local guide. It says, I'd say in the fall. And I always kind of chuckle when I read that. But as you can imagine, Kimberly probably rolled her eyes when she saw that response because it's not that helpful of a response. And then thankfully you do get RMW2, this local guide that engages and gives a very definitive and descriptive answer. Now, I don't know if this answer is correct, but at least it's definitive and there's a bit more of a description than what's going on here by this answer. The missed opportunity that we see in this thread is that the owner or the manager of the Motorsports Museum never engaged with questions and answers. Okay, so we have some other silly examples here. These are some questions and answers that we found for the Statue of Liberty. So sometimes they're not that valid of a question or not that valid of an answer, but it is worth checking because there can be some legitimate questions and answers coming through that would be perfect for you to take that step and engage with as the owner. So some of these questions pretty funny. How many inches is it? And then this response is 151 feet tall, 305 feet high, which I think tall and high are the same things, and he's giving a response in feet, and the question's about inches. So not a whole lot of attention to detail there on Glenn's end. So it is definitely worthwhile checking your questions. This was probably the most ridiculous one for the Statue of Liberty is, what's the history of the Statue of Liberty? And did a panda make it? Which I don't really know what that means and why somebody would ask that, but hey, you do get a response here from a very helpful local guide doing their best, saying hi, access the website. There are many informations there. So don't know if the website will have information about that panda making Statue of Liberty, but who knows. When it comes to how often questions and answers are getting responded to and how often they are actually posted, we found that 95% of the audited listings had questions from customers. So pretty much almost every business profile did have questions, but less than 15% actually had answers from the business owner. And so if you're kind of sitting there in your chair squirming a little bit, thinking about the fact that you've never engaged with questions and answers, that's okay, because you probably weren't aware of it. It's hard to fix something that you're not aware of. And so that's a goal here today is letting you know that questions and answers can affect your business profile, can affect the overall information, and therefore best case scenarios for you to, as the owner or the manager, to engage with questions and answers as they appear within your business profile. Remember that they can only be engaged with inside of Google search, but you can turn on a notification, just like we saw with customer reviews. You can turn on a notification alerting you when questions and answers are posted to your business profile. So then what will happen is you'll get an email response from Google saying, hey, a question has been asked, and then you can respond to that question directly. And this is a great example here for this hotel in Hawaii, where the question that was asked is, does every room have a balcony? And then you get some really quick responses from local guides to say not all, but most of, yes, and nope. So if you're Rick, what do you do with that information? Do you call the business, try to get that information, or are you going to wait to see if someone answers the question? That's a great opportunity for the Modern Honolulu owner to step in and say, hey, Rick, great question. Every east-facing odd-numbered room has a balcony. Therefore, call our reservations office and we're going to get you set up with a balcony room if that's something you're interested in, and then give your name. So it's a great opportunity to engage with people via our future guests or maybe customers via the questions and answers option. After you provided your own answers, report the bad answers in your profile. So going back here to Captain Obvious, you can go ahead and flag that comment because it's not a helpful question or not a helpful answer. So you could just say incorrect information or off topic or maybe no longer applies. Another hot tip here for questions and answers is if you have an FAQ page on your website, so frequently asked question page, you can go ahead and go into your business profile, click ask a question, and you can ask the question as the owner. So that's what we're seeing here in this Modern Honolulu example. And the question is, how far is the hotel for the Ala Moana shopping area? You can post that, and then you can go in and answer the question as well. So what will happen is you're essentially asking and answering questions that might be questions that people will have in the future. So you're addressing it. And the cool part about questions and answers is as someone's typing out their question, Google's going to go through and find questions that have similar keywords in it. So if I'm asking a similar like, hey, how far is the hotel from the Ala Moana? Google's going to go ahead and just show me that that has already been a question and answer thread and will provide me with that information as I'm typing out. That's all specific to the keywords included in what I'm typing. It's a pretty cool little tool there. So now we're going to talk about managing your visual representation. So photos are a key part of how potential customers make decisions about your business. Listings with quality photos are twice as likely to generate engagement with customers. I know for me, beyond looking at ratings and reviews, I'm really interested in going in and looking at the photos because I not only want to hear what people are saying about a business before visiting it, but I also want to get an idea of what to expect. I want to see what people are posting. I want to see what the owner has posted and what they're highlighting. I'm taking all of that information and then building up my idea of what that business is going to entail, what my visit to that location is going to look like. In terms of photos and the amount of views that photos are receiving, 90% of the photos available for your business are supplied by your customers. So vast majority of the number of images included in your profile have been uploaded by other people. But don't worry because you're still bringing in about half the amount of views. So even if you've only uploaded 3 photos to your business profile and there's 100 photos uploaded by customers, those 3 photos are likely still driving nearly half of the amount of views on your business profile. So that's just a good thing to be aware of, that you're still driving at least half the amount of views, but also hopefully that encourages you to continue to upload photos more consistently. To get an idea of what customers are uploading inside of your dashboard, you can click on your Photos tab here, select by customer, and those will be photos that have been uploaded by other people. So you can go in and get an idea of what's being posted and then always go in and flag poor quality photos. I'll show you how to do that here in a minute, but anytime you come across an image that is either poor quality or maybe explicit or a photo that's not of your business, you can flag it for those reasons and Google will decide what to do from there. But we'll touch on that here in a second. Another tip is just to upload photos frequently. And by frequently, uploading photos at least monthly What we tend to find be common is that businesses will set up their business profile, but then they'll never touch it after setting it up. And the goal is to show Google that you're an active member using this free product. You're using all the features available. And one of the things that you can do to show Google that you're actively engaged is by uploading photos consistently. And so we have the tip here of adding 4 to 5 photos a month for a 10 to 30% lift in exposure for your business. So you should see a pretty healthy lift in overall impressions, exposures for your business just by adding photos. So that's the only takeaway that you have from today's call. Be sure to be continually uploading photos. Doesn't mean you have to upload 100 photos every day. What I would do is if you want to shoot 100 photos today, you could do that and then take 3 to 5 or 5 to 10 photos at a time and parse them out and basically upload those 10 photos this week, upload 10 photos next week if that's a priority of yours and you want to move forward in uploading lots of images. Okay. Photo best practices. So keep all of these, keep these 3 factors in mind when it comes to shooting a photo that will perform well on Google. What we're talking about are photos that have a better shot at ranking in the top 5 or top 10 photos inside of your photo gallery. The first thing you want to think about is what information are you sharing in the photo? What would a potential visitor want to know or see? Put yourself in the visitor's shoe when you're shooting the photo, and you want to make sure that you consider the scope, the scale, and the context of the place that you're capturing. The second thing is you want to make sure that you're shooting an attractive photo. So, think about what makes a photo maybe eye-catching. Maybe it's just a post-processing process where you're going to go in and edit the photo and make the colors pop a little bit. Consider the contrast, the coloring, the saturation, lighting, focus, all of that when it comes to shooting an attractive image. And then the third and final factor here is representative. So represent what the place typically looks like. And that just means avoiding featuring specific seasons, events, conditions, things like that. So we have a great example here of a good photo versus a bad photo. And then I think we could all agree as to what the good photo, what are some of the better components found within that photo. It's the lighting, the coloring, the focus points, the composition. We know what we're looking at just by looking at the photo. It's the Branson Ferris wheel. Whereas the photo off to the right is muddy in color, off-kilter horizon, and it looks like something kind of straight out of a zombie movie. So it really doesn't inspire me or really excite me about visiting that location just based off of that one photo. And by creating higher quality content or higher quality photos, you're going to bring in more views. That's just how it works on Google. So this is a great example of exactly that, where these 2 photos were shot of the same dish nearly at the same time by the same local guide and uploaded. As you can see, this photo brought in over 100,000 views, where this one is just under 11,000 views. This photo is bright, has great coloring, composition is fantastic. It makes the plate look full and appetizing, whereas this photo is a bit more dark in color, less exciting, kind of just looks like a pile of dead fish, and it's not that appetizing of a photo to look at when you compare it side by side. So some photo best practices for you here is to upload only photos that you've created or own the complete rights to. Upload at least 4K images, so upload the highest resolution that you have the opportunity to upload at. Don't use filters, so if you are going to repurpose a photo, maybe from Instagram, which is totally fine if you want to repurpose images that you've already posted somewhere else out there and you want to include them on Google, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Just make sure that you aren't sharing images to Google that have filters applied to them. And then the final note here is avoid seasonal images unless that's relevant to the location that you're shooting. So best practices here are to keep your vertical line straight, vertical and horizontal lines straight. Shoot mostly horizontal images. Horizontal images tend to perform a bit better inside of the world of Google. Products make a better use of them than portrait style or vertical images. So depending on how Google thumbnails the image or crops it, horizontal images tend to just perform better and look better inside of Google. Doesn't mean you can't upload a portrait or vertical photo. Just know that it might not get as many views if you shot it vertical or portrait versus horizontal. And the last tip here is interiors without people. are preferred to those with people. So avoid identifiable faces or carry release forms. Basically, you don't want to get in any trouble shooting photos and then people come back and say, hey, you upload this photo, I'm in it. You don't want to deal with that. We also just find that photos without people, kind of like we see in this bottom example, tend to perform better than photos with people. So something to keep in mind. Again, it doesn't mean that you can't upload photos of people inside of your business. Just know that there should be a healthy mix of images without people along with images of people. And it's likely that the photos without people will perform better than those with. Okay, another tip here for managing your visual representation is to include your cover photo and your logo. So go into your photos section inside of your dashboard, and those two prompts will be shown just like this. Set the best cover photo that shows off your business in the best way possible. I can't think of a better photo for the seaside grill showing the ocean and the restaurant, and it's a fantastic image there. And then include your logo, and that way it's just an opportunity to kind of extend your branding elements inside of Google. Earlier, I'd mentioned the process and flagging images, so we're going to show you how to do that here. If you select a customer photo and open it up, inside of the customer photo, there will be a flag option here, and you can just flag it for a number of different reasons. This example, I would probably flag as poor quality. It's not an offensive image. It is a photo of the place. It's not a copyright issue. It's just a smartphone photo shot at night. So it's not the best photo. So therefore, I'm going to click that. And the reason I'm going to flag poor quality photos is because I don't want those ranking higher. So if somebody clicks onto your photos inside of your business profile, I don't want a poor quality photo like this showing up at the top. I want that photo shown at the bottom, if anything. And flagging it will help that to be the case. If you do have an issue with flagging photos and Google not taking care of them, especially if it's like an explicit issue of any kind, remember to use this link here. It is case sensitive, so the G, M, B, and G are case sensitive. But you can click on the link after today's call when you receive the PDF, and then use this to talk to a specialist, and then let them know. You'll probably have to include the URL and a screenshot of the photo. That way they know what you're talking about. But if it, like I said, an explicit image is not getting removed, in that case, I would talk to Google support to take care of that. So now we're going to talk about using 360s and virtual tours to attract customers. This is a way to really just kind of really take your content to the next level, give users and future customers the ability to kind of explore your business before ever even stepping foot in person. This is more of an advanced option. Obviously, not everyone has access to a 360 camera, but surprise, you actually kind of do, and that's all via the Street View app. So we're going to look at that here in a second. But it's an important tool for businesses and travelers and destinations, really to kind of expand the amount of content opportunities for your business within Google. People can explore places much more in depth by utilizing 360 content inside of your profile. You can also link any type of 360 photos that you've created and put together a virtual tour. There's tools out there, one of them being gothrough.co. And this is a virtual tour of a ski shop that we put together where you can walk in and do a tour of the entire business and see what it's like to experience the ski rental journey, all before ever even visiting that place in person. So you might be asking, like, why do I really care about 360 photos, or what's the point? Well, there's probably a 360 photo that's already assigned to your business profile from Google Maps based off of your address. And so you might have noticed that there's a road shot view of your business, and that road shot view is being pulled in directly from Street View. In some cases, a road shot view might be great. In other cases, it might look like what we see going on here, where there's construction going on in front of this business, and this photo is being pulled into the business's profile. So they don't want this photo, so we're going to talk about what they can do to fix that. Another example of that here, where businesses that are getting hidden by the waste truck, this all just has to do with poor timing. So you could go about flagging the image, but I'd take it a step further and go about creating a new image, walking outside, shooting a 360 photo, and then uploading it so that new image will appear here. So I'd mentioned the Street View app. This is the free option in going about creating 360 photospheres to apply to your business. It's available on Android and iPhone. It's an easy way to capture 360 content without the use of having a camera and learning how to use it, but know that there will be stitching errors. Basically what happens is the app you'll shoot a bunch of different photos like we see in this example here off to the right. You'll line up that yellowish orange dot into the white circle, and then the app will take the photo, and then you just keep doing that, moving around the room. As you're standing still, you just move the phone around, and then the app will take all those photos and create a photosphere, and then you can upload it to Street View and then apply that image to the business profile as well. So that's the free route. You could also go about buying a cheaper camera. This is the Ricoh Theta V. It shoots 4K, does shoot great video as well as stills or 360 photospheres. It's about $350 depending on where you buy it. You can get them refurbished too. One of the ones that we recommend, it does a great job of shooting high quality 360s with no stitching errors, and it's really easy to use. You can just control it all from your phone via Wi-Fi, and you save them onto the phone. You can upload them directly from the phone. So the workflow is very simple with this camera, but I would recommend thinking about incorporating 360 photos into your business profiles, because it's a really cool way for users and future customers to explore your business before ever stepping foot. The other thing that you can do is find a trusted pro in your area. And so you can go to this link supplied in the presentation, google.com/streetview/hire. And these are Street View trusted photographers. Many of you on the webinar today might have already had someone reach out to you about shooting 360 photos, and they probably said something about them being a Street View trusted photographer. That's great and all. Just know that the bar for becoming a trusted photographer is pretty low. All you have to do is supply 50 pieces of content to Street View, 50 approved pieces of content, and then you'll get the badge. So if anybody comes in with a trusted verifier or trusted Street View trusted badge, that's kind of the process they went through. So before paying them to do anything, get an idea of what the quality of work they're creating is, how professional it is, what equipment are they using? Are they using a $300 camera? Are they using a $3,000 camera? So make sure you ask good questions before just hiring one of these photographers, especially if you've had people reaching out to you already. As far as getting more out of the 360 content that you create, you can share or embed any 360 photos into your website without having to include any kind of back-end development. What will happen is Google will create an iframe link, and then people will be able to explore your 360 photos onto your website via that link. And this counts as a view inside of your Google listing as well. So it's another way to just get a little bit more out of the content that you create. You can also share 360 photos to Facebook. So it's another channel that you can repurpose that content onto as well. Okay, so posting content now. These are kind of, this is an opportunity for you to share important updates about your business, maybe events that are coming up or new products or new services. It's organic, which means it's free. And it's really on top of the cover photo and logo. It's one of the other areas that you have complete creative direction over inside of Google My Business. Most things are kind of algorithmically or programmatically driven. Posts, you get to create pretty much every component and then ultimately drive users where you want them to go. Less than 18% of the audited listings are actively using posts, and less than 40% have ever used a post. So if you haven't used a post yet, don't feel bad. Again, we're here to just show you all the different opportunities that are available, and this is one way to take your presence online with Google to the next step, and that's by actively using the post feature. Some bullet points worth noting here is that posts are free, they're trackable, they're visual, as well as engaging. Remember that you have complete creative direction over the photo, over the description, and over the link that you drive traffic to. Creating a post is easy. There is an option here to create the post within clicking that blue circle there, or you can select one of these options here at the top as well. And then we have some different prompts here, call to action buttons that you can include in your posts so you can drive traffic to people, for people to go to your website, to your blog, to learn more, to sign up, and whatever it is that you're speaking to within your posts. Median views per week is about 3,000, and the average interaction rate is about 0.4%. So it is worth just engaging with, seeing how you can kind of repurpose content maybe that you're already sharing out from Facebook and just getting more eyes on it within Google. What will happen is the post will appear wherever your business profile appears. And they actually have a lifespan of 7 days, so we'll get into that in a second. As far as best practices for utilizing posts, very similar to what you are probably already doing on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but that's use an attention grabbing photo. So bright colors, simple single subject. Focus your message on the first 100 characters. So really try to draw people in based off of what you're sharing in that first blurb. And then add your own tracking codes to your call to action button. Some best practices for using GMB posts is to keep 2 posts live at one time. You don't want to have anything more than 2. Anything more than 2 could actually reduce the viewability of post number 3, post number 4, post number 5. So I would only worry about posting 2 a week. If 2 is too much, just try to post 1 a week. And they do have a lifetime for 7 days, which means you have to repost each week and post early in the week if you're promoting something that following weekend. And then we have seen that event type posts have the best overall performance. So if you have an event coming up that you'd like to highlight, you can go ahead and create a post around that event. And we actually have seen some cases where event style posts, like let's say it was at this upcoming fall, you have a concert series. That would be an example of an event that actually might live longer than 7 days because the event itself is not happening anytime soon. So Google therefore will keep that event post up, but you have to keep kind of checking in on that. That's one of the cases where we've seen posts have a longer lifespan. So wrapping up here with measuring exposure and engagement, I know we're going just a tad bit over, but I want to make sure that you get a really healthy understanding of all things available within Google My Business, and then wrapping up here with ultimately getting a good idea of how your profile is performing. So within your dashboard, you've got access to Insights, and Insights reporting tracks customer exposures and engagement inside of Google's platform. You can't get these numbers anywhere else. Again, these are specific to your business profile. These all have to do with your profile and nothing else. And these numbers cannot be pulled anywhere else. They don't have anything to do with Google Analytics or anything with your ads account. They're specific to Google My Business. And there's some helpful insight there as to how people are finding you. Are they finding you directly through searching either for your name or your address? Are they discovering your business? And that's when the relevancy factor comes into play, depending on your category, depending on the products that you sell or the services that you sell, or the other information found available about your business inside the profile. And that's why it's really important that you continue to just expand that information, because more and more people will find your business because of that. And then branded is another element. It's becoming more and more of a common theme. In this example, we're not really seeing that branding component being huge, but as Google continues to roll out function with products, I imagine branded searches will become more and more of a factor in this reporting here. As far as whether or not people are finding on Google Search or Google Maps, they'll give you that information as well, so you can get an idea of who or where people are finding you. Maybe someone who's using search is more of a trip planner. They're trying to get their information. They're kind of in the discovery mode, whereas somebody who's looking you up on Maps is an active customer or an active engaged potential customer. And so they're looking to see how far you are from their business, or they're pulling up your directions or other things. So they might be a bit more engaged, that person using Google Maps over someone using Google Search to find your business. And then customer action. So getting an idea of, are they visiting your website after experiencing your profile? Are they requesting directions? That's going to be an indicator of intent to visit, right? So if they're requesting directions, and the others, if they're calling you, so they're looking to get more information. So those are, again, some helpful insights that you can get understanding of within your business profile. And on that note, it's important to know that you will not be able to access insights if you haven't gone through and verified your listing. So yesterday we talked about claiming and then verification. If you haven't verified, you will not be able to access insights, and that's, again, something that we'll be able to help you out with during those office hour times, is generating codes to get you instantly verified on Google. And then if you are more of a mobile user, remember that there's that Google My Business app. If you haven't downloaded that already, be sure to download it. And you can access the reports as well. Those are available within the app. There are some features that vary, some information that changes from time to time compared to web and app. But for the most part, you're able to get that basic information from insights within the app as well. So that brings us to our close today for today's call, as far as unpacking more advanced options, what you can do to effectively manage an optimized business profile and really get the most out of your presence online through Google's tools. We do have the live Q&A sessions, those timeframes and dates for each of your destinations included here. So keep an eye out for that, and then go ahead and register for those live Q&As, depending on where your business is located. So I'm going to leave this slide up because the next slide is all about it's a thank you slide. So I want to open it up for questions and answers. I know that we went a little bit longer today, but again, I want to make sure that you had a healthy understanding of this material and of where you can play a role and have a voice on Google with Google My Business. So questions and answers, I'm going to go in and start addressing questions. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. If you do not, you can stick around and listen. You might learn something from questions and answers. They'll all be included on the login, or sorry, the recording of this webinar. And then we'll also have time for questions and answers during those live Q&As for each market, as well as times to address specific issues you're experiencing through the office hours that we have coming up and starting next week. So let me open up questions. All right, so this question is, I have a client with an accidental 2 GMB accounts. I've been unsuccessful in merging the two or getting assistance from Google Help. I'd appreciate any help that I can get. So thanks for that question, Christy. The process in merging is kind of funky. It depends on the overall completeness of both listings. If they're both verified, that can be an issue. If one of them is verified and one of them is not, then the merge process is pretty easy, but it does have to happen on Google's end. And to that note, Google's been pretty out of pocket the past couple of weeks or even months. They've been pretty delayed in suspension issues, and especially like merging pages. And so in that case, if one of the businesses is and you're trying to merge them, if one of them is kind of inactive to the point where there's not a whole lot of reviews and content on it that you're trying to save, I would just delete, remove that listing. You mark it as closed in Google Maps and then go in and remove it from your dashboard. That would be my process now. That'll probably happen more quickly than working towards the merge, depending again on the overall quality and health of those listings. If they're both, they both have 100 reviews and there's photos and things that you're trying to like save, then I would wait to work with Google on the merge. But you can use the bit.ly link that's included in the slide deck. That'll help give you access to Google support. But other than that, there's not much more that I can do on my end other than recommend either maybe just removing and deleting the place from your dashboard. Okay. Does Google My Business have a way to help a business that is both brick and mortar store and does internet sales? If you do internet sales, I wouldn't worry too much about that in regards to Google My Business. That was kind of one of the questions yesterday as far as like a business that only does internet sales. What you can do to kind of speak to that though for your business is like we have I'll just use an example of a store here in town. It's a mountaineering store, and they also do online sales pretty heavily. Like that's like a big portion of their business. But what they don't have an online Google My Business presence for their online store. It doesn't really make sense for that. So therefore their business profile is focused in on their brick and mortar. And then what you can do is either create posts to remind people, hey, you do have an online portion of the store, you can go in and ask the question of, do you have an online store, and then answer the question and include that in your questions and answers. So that way you're just expanding that information inside of the profile. That's a good question. As related to Google SEO, does posting video reviews and ratings help SEO improve as compared to just word reviews? Good question. Not too sure, actually, along those lines. As far as posting a video review, the video, I'm actually kind of still shocked in that Google hasn't made a large priority in really kind of putting video first in many ways that we saw Facebook and even Instagram really move towards. I believe you're still only able to upload a 30-second clip to Google. And I haven't tried uploading a 30-second clip to a review. So good question though. Are the review stats specific to Google or all reviews? Not too sure on what review stats you were talking about. I think maybe the Bright Local stats showing that like 89% of customers are reading responses to reviews. In that case, that is, I'm pretty sure, specifically focusing on Google's reviews. So nothing to do with Yelp or another review site. Did I hear, so the question is, did I hear correctly that profiles with reviews are optimized over similar category profile listings without reviews or without highly rated reviews? Correct, yeah. The more reviews that you have, it's going to help your business. So if you have a bunch of competitors and you have 100 5-star reviews and your competitors have 100 3-star reviews, that's going to benefit your business. Your business will be shown in more results. It'll have a better shot at appearing in more places within Google, at least appearing first, especially when we talk about that local pack. So it is key to make sure that you're encouraging reviews, which is why we spent a good portion talking about the ways that you can encourage those reviews and what to do when reviews are posted. I'd say making reviews a priority on Google is probably should be everyone's priority. So we had this question yesterday. It has to do with appointment hours. So there's not a way to set appointment hours, although depending on your category, there's an option now for more hours, and there might be something you can select there. But in that case, I would just include the hours that your business, that you're technically open for operation, that you would host appointments, and then just be sure to include the fact that you're appointment only in your description. Maybe include it in a question and answer thread, like we talked about, of asking your own question and answering it. And this is something that Google is aware of. They don't always nail it with being able to give all of the features or access to features and tools available for every type of business. They do the best that they can, but this appointment by only is definitely something that I'd like to see available. And they're aware of it because it's a pretty big topic in Google forums, where people are pretty heavily talking about the need for the appointment option. So there's not a way to set that up just yet. Hopefully that changes here in the near future, but there are special hours that you can include. So you could try to play around with that, see if there's an opportunity to use special hours for that need. Use the more hours option, see if there's anything in there that's applicable. But other than that, just make sure that you include information throughout your profile that you are an appointment only type business. Thanks for that question, Tracy. So the question is, we are a Marriott hotel and do not have posts. Do you know if it's possible for us to get? How is it possible to respond to a negative photo posted? So first question there about posts is posts are not available for hotels. I don't know why. Google hasn't been vocal about that reasoning. But to that note, yesterday we talked about setting up additional categories, might give you access to additional features. So maybe play around with the 9 additional categories that you can set up and apply to your profile, and that might give you access to posts. I don't have an example of one that you could utilize for your property because I don't know too much about that property specifically. But that might be one way to get access to posts. But in general, if you're set up your primary category is a hotel or anything accommodations focused, you will not have access to posts. And that's where different categories just have different access to features within Google My Business. The second question is, how is it possible to respond to a negative photo posted? There is not a way to respond verbally or through text to a photo. The only way is to just go through and flag the photo for either removal or edits to be, or for it to be included lower, have a lower ranking in the photo gallery. The question here is it helpful to respond to reviews that are more than a month old, or does that show potential clients that you are too slow in responding? I don't see any issue with that, especially if you are real about the issue. So maybe one of it was, hey, we just did a training and realized that we have reviews, didn't know how to respond to reviews, therefore we're responding now. Thank you so much, or how can we help resolve, or you can follow up in that manner. I don't think there's an issue in responding to older reviews at all. Obviously, if it's like 3 years old and it's not applicable to the business anymore in any way, in that case, flag that review so it's not negatively affecting your rating, especially if it's not a 4 or 5 star rating. But I don't see an issue in responding to something that's like a month old or 2 months old or even a year old, especially if you're real about, hey, didn't really know you don't have to say you didn't know how important reviews were, but you weren't totally aware of how you could respond until now. Yeah, one of the questions here is, I downloaded the app, went to customers, but I do not see the option for messages. Can you show me where to find it again, or how to turn it on? Let's go ahead and, because I don't have a way to share my screen on my phone. Good question. It should be on as far as I'm aware. I haven't heard anything about Google folding the messages tool. So therefore, what we can do is schedule a time if you're available for on office hours, and we can walk through that a bit more. And I'll just double check to make sure that that's all good to go. Yes, the question here is, can you flag those silly answers as inappropriate, similar to reviews? Sorry if I missed that from you. Yes, you can. You can flag questions and answers, and just like you can a review. I do not see Q&A on my business page. Do I need to turn questions and answers on? A couple things. Depends on your category. You should have access to it. You might not have questions and answers because no one has asked it in the past, or it could just be due to your category and the way your business profile is assigned inside of Google My Business. And the other thing is, make sure that you're accessing it from Google search. So type in the name of your business within Google search, and then look at the business profile, and then scroll down, and you should see questions and answers there. You cannot access them via Google Maps. And another note there is, like I mentioned during the call or during the presentation, is that questions and answers were basically hidden during the time of COVID. So when COVID was at its height, Google decided to shut down or quiet the questions and answers, mainly because they didn't want to deal with policing questions and answers and monitoring that. So therefore, they just kind of turned off that feature. So part of what you're seeing could be maybe due to the fact that it hasn't been released to your category type just yet. It was actually something that we were recently just talking about on our team, between questions and answers not being available. And then I did a quick Google search and was able to find a bunch of examples where questions and answers were live again. So it might just be, it might just depend on how you're categorized within Google. This question here is, can customer photos be deleted? Some of ours are really bad quality. They cannot be deleted. They are, the only thing you can do is flag them. And so go through and flag, maybe have somebody else in your office or your business flag photos from their phone. The more people you get flagging photos brings more attention to those images on Google's end. So that can help the case in those getting removed. But you might also have to refer to that bit.ly link to talk to support at Google about the issues you're experiencing when it comes to bad photos. Can photos be reordered is the follow-up question there about that. No, photos cannot be reordered. I'd mentioned photos are programmatically kind of decided upon how they sit in your photo gallery. This is not a way for you to reorder them, which is why it's really important to set that cover photo, because it's the first photo showing on your profile. So be sure that you're at least doing that. And then in terms of getting better quality photos to rank higher, just go through and like those photos. It's an option to like when you're accessing the photo gallery inside of Google search. You can like a photo, and that will help that photo rank up higher in your gallery. Is there a limit to how many photos that can be posted? Good question. I have not heard of any limits. There have been times where I've uploaded hundreds of photos to a listing as a local guide, and I have not had any limitations. So don't think that there's a limit there when it comes to the amount of photos to be uploaded. This is a good question. As a realtor, would it make sense to post photos of available houses here, or is that too temporary and not representative enough? As far as posting photos in your photo gallery, I wouldn't do that, but that could be an option to utilize posts if you have the post feature available, and then you can just post about the current houses that are on the market. Since both are temporary, right? Posts have a lifetime of 7 days, and the house on the market has a specific amount of time on the market. So you'd probably have to repost if the house has not sold, but I'd probably utilize posts for that, because you'll be able to feature a photo, and then you can drive a link to your website where that house is, like a learn more link, and people can explore a bit more detail on your website. Can I elaborate on posting photos with filters, the why behind it? Not much of a why, other than it's something that we've paid attention to, and it's been a common theme of, and I even tried it on my own. Last year I was out shooting photos for a client in Kentucky, and from my personal account I shot a photo that was included a filter, so an Instagram filter, and uploaded that, and shot the same photo that didn't have the filter. And like within a matter of days, the photos that didn't have the filter resulted in like hundreds and hundreds of views, and the photo without or with the filter had like 3 or 4 views. As to why, I'm not sure Google's purpose behind that. Other than I think if I had to make an assumption, is that Google, and it kind of speaks to that representative point that we talked about, that factor in shooting content. Google wants to give the realist information in what they're delivering on this product here within Google My Business. At least they're encouraging that idea. And so by adding a filter and heavily editing a photo, it's sometimes maybe not the most realistic impression of what somebody can actually expect to experience there. And so therefore, they tend to just not put priority on photos with filtering, knowing that the photo's been heavily edited in that way. That's my theory, at least. If you upload 5 photos per month, should I also take down 5 photos? What is a good quantity or total photos for a small business? An example, not Disney World. Great question. No, you don't need to remove 5 photos unless those photos are irrelevant. Those photos do not apply to the business anymore. Then make sure that they're not showing. If you did a renovation, if you've gone through some changes, especially post-COVID in recovery, maybe you have outdoor seating, upload those photos, but doesn't mean you always have to remove photos. As far as like a number of a perfect number is not an issue with having more photos than less photos. So I don't see any problem there with continuing to just upload photos and then only prioritizing removal when images are no longer applicable. Is it legal to use photos of our establishment with people in it, or do I need to get release forms for them to be in it? That's, yeah, going down that path of like, is it legal or not? There's a number of different issues there. If it's like a public space, a private space, if there's any kind of signage letting people know, like typically like at an event, let's say like a concert, there will be signs around saying, hey, by purchasing a ticket and attending, it's likely that your photo will get taken. Obviously, it's worded in a much more legal format. So people are at least kind of aware that their likeness and their images, photos of them might be taken. So in the case of like going around and shooting photos of people in your business, if they're not people that you know and you haven't had verbal consent or had them sign a release form, I would steer against recommending uploading those photos. You can always just upload them to like, or import them into an editing tool like Lightroom, Photoshop, and you can blur their faces and then upload it, or just try to make sure that their faces aren't recognizable. Yeah, so this question is regarding posts. It seems like some business categories do not have access to this feature. Why is that, and will that change? As to the why, I have not heard anything from Google regarding that. So like kind of to the note earlier that we were talking about of hotels that don't have posts. Not completely sure as to why Google has limited that feature, but for the businesses that are limited, my recommendation again is to go in and add as many categories as possible that are applicable to the business, but it also might help open up that option for utilizing posts for the business. If you feel like you should have access to posts, that would be an option to, or an opportunity to talk to support. But as to like the why and will that change, I hope it will change. I don't see why a hotel wouldn't have that opportunity. And I hope to see that that changes here in the near future. Can posts be used in lieu of a blog? And can posts be embedded into websites like the Street Views? So the post cannot be embedded. It's not like an embed code for your posts to embed into your website. And then can posts be used in lieu of a blog? Yes, the problem with it, like versus a blog, like the benefit in a blog is for like SEO, and it's forever, or it's like evergreen in a way, because it's going to impact traffic to your site because it lives on your site forever. Posts do not live on your site, and they have a lifetime. So they're 7 days old, and you're pretty limited in the amount of like information included in posts beyond when you compare it to what you can do in a blog. So I would not stop doing blogs. And what I would do is still continue, if you're creating blogs, doing that, and then using posts to highlight your blog. So you can do a quick snippet of information, like a snackable format of the blog in a post format, and then encourage people to go click through to your blog to read more and learn more. Yeah, so another one along the lines of the GMB profile, posts are not available for that type of business. Again, it just depends on what type of business you are set up as under categories. This is a great question, and I'm glad this got asked. Thank you, Marge, for this one. After yesterday's webinar, I made a lot of updates to my business profile. The changes did not show up. I'm wondering how long under review is, and that's a great question because there's not a defined certain amount of days that Google will approve your edit. Sometimes it's overnight, sometimes it's right away, other times it's 3 to 5 days. In some cases right now, I'm waiting on an edit that I made, I want to say like second or third week of April for a listing. So when you make edits from the back end of the dashboard, it should go through quicker than an edit that's being made publicly as a local guide, so know that. But everything, like I mentioned earlier, on Google's end has been delayed as far as edits and approvals, and maybe you've experienced suspensions, which has been kind of a headache during COVID-19. Nothing's happening overnight, which is why having that access to Bitly is helpful, and then setting up office hours with me in those cases where I can actually reach out. I have a direct access way to contact Google via a specific form, and we can work more closely on addressing that issue. And that's like a step up above the Google My Business support page. So if you're experiencing problems like that are like not getting resolved and it's been weeks, let's make sure that we get you set up for an office hours visit, and I'll work with you on taking care of that. Yeah, another one along the lines of posts here for Chelsea, not seeing it as an option for your business. Again, it's depends on how you're set up as a category. Okay. Couple more minutes here for questions, and then we can follow up and address additional questions inside of that live Q&A as well. Oh yeah, so you had mentioned this question here, Lucia or Lucia. Can you explain the conversion rate more under the audit benchmark? So in the presentation, there's some areas here like I'll just go to it. This is the conversion rate. So 4.8% is a conversion rate of how many people are accessing that business profile, and then how many people are actually taking the next step in converting, which would be going to your website, requesting directions, and calling you. What we tend to see is a 4.8% conversion rate among the businesses that we audited. So that's coming in from our audit process. In the insights, there's some information here of, okay, the benchmark for direct traffic or discovery traffic is 45 and 55. That's across the board of those 58,000 profiles. So what you can then do is get an idea of, okay, how many searches happened in total, how many of those searches were direct, how many were discovery, and figure out your percentages and then compare them to the benchmark numbers included at the end of the presentation here, where we talk about insights. Do we know what percentage of businesses have a 360-degree view? We could go through and find that information in part of our audit process. At Miles, we include information on whether or not they have 360s and whether or not they have quality 360s. So I don't have like the number in front of me right now as to like X amount of businesses have 360s, but our recommendation is to encourage you to do that, because it's taking the next step in applying really helpful content inside of your profile. This is from Terry. My name is Josh Ray. Again, thank you. I appreciate the compliment here. Yeah, thank you for that. Can I explain what branded insights are? Yes, so if I go back to this portion here, we have direct, discovery, and branded. Branded are customers who find your listings searching for a brand related to your business. So yesterday we talked about menus, products, and services. And so if you have specific products and brands associated to those products that you're including, then that will be associated to your profile. And if people are, let's say you're a deli, let's just use a quick example here. If you're a deli and you specialize in boar's head meats, and you've included your sandwiches under products and menus, and you've included boar's head throughout, if that's been included inside of the information within your profile, it's likely that people are going to find you through that branded search, because there's that branded term boar's head related to your products. How do we access the audio portion of the webinars? Good question. What we'll be doing is sending over the recording after the call. So keep an eye out in your inbox for that one. Sorry, this one's about yesterday's slides and today's slide. Yes, you will receive yesterday. If you're registered for yesterday's and today's, you will receive both. So just make sure that you're all set to go and register there, and then you'll receive the emails, including the presentations and the recording. All right, so we're gonna do 2 more questions. One of them is, yes, this is a good one. What if someone has claimed my business and I no longer have access to the associated Gmail account? So if someone's previously claimed it, the first step to do would, you might want to get a pen and paper, and I'll just kind of follow you through the prompts. But it will be to go to business.google.com/add, ADD. And once you go there, it'll probably Google will prompt you to log in to your Gmail account, and then from there you'll type in the name of the business you're trying to get access to. So in your case, whatever the name of the business that's already been claimed, type that in there, and then Google will provide you with information saying whether or not it's been claimed. If it has been claimed by someone, they'll provide you with a 2-letter hint to the email that claimed, and then there will be a process in requesting access. Or requesting ownership over that listing. And then that's between you and Google and the previous owner, depending on who the previous owner was or previous manager. And then you just kind of follow that process. If that doesn't work for you, that's where office hours is going to be important to set up, and I can kind of help assist you and walk you through that issue. So I'm going to have Casey, if Casey's on here. The question here is about setting up the office hours and go about doing that. So making sure that you are set up. We have our live Q&As here for each of your markets. You should have received invites about that. And then following those live Q&As are going to be office hours as well. And so the information about that should all be within your inbox. But if there's another point, Casey, I might have you jump in and answer anything I might have missed right there. Okay. Well, we're drawing to half past the hour here, and I appreciate all of your time this morning, and hope that you learned quite a bit about what you can do to really kind of step up your game in the world of Google My Business and really apply some of those advanced features like 360 photos, or really just even going through and adding photos consistently. Hope that you learned a lot in here today, and I look forward to meeting with each of you again. We'll have those live Q&As. Those are being shown on the screen right now. And then we'll go through and help you out on specific issues that you're experiencing. And that's what those office hours will be specific to as well. So the live Q&A will kind of have like a recap of what we discussed here. And then what we'll do is address any ongoing problems you've had inside the world of Google during office hours, and those will be one-on-one time. So I'm gonna leave a little bit of time here just to, in case Casey wants to hop in here and address the office hours question. But other than that, thank you all so much for your time. Again, this has been recorded, and so you can go back through and listen to this recording, and then we'll send over the PDF as well. So big thanks to the Colorado Tourism Office. Thank you to them for putting this webinar on, and I look forward to meeting with you again during our live Q&A as well as office hours. Okay, well, for anybody still on, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's webinar. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to check out this information. I did confirm emails are going out today with this presentation, recording, the PDF, and then information about setting up office hours as well. So if you'd like to do that, basically what we'll be doing is have you set up and schedule office hours meetings with myself and Casey on our team. And so if that's something you'd like to do, just keep an eye out in your inbox and we'll make sure that all of you are aware of how to go about getting those office hours set up. So thank you so much for your time. Again, thank you to Colorado Tourism Office. Really appreciate each one of you hopping on here. Lots of great questions. I know that we weren't able to get to all of them, but we do have those live Q&A sessions where we can address them there as well. So thank you for your time. Hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, and we'll be talking to you very, very soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.